computer right here.
Twitch.tv/notsohungdaddy.
Whatever. It's not a big deal to have its own Twitch channel. I mean that more about like the thumbnails on the YouTube videos or something like that. Just making it a little inviting.
Clickbaity.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be ridiculous. I just literally mean like the bare minimum. Like we should just make it. Okay, we're up. Yeah.
I have a pretty strong aversion to doing like spending any time or resources onto in things that I don't care about. And
Okay.
I don't know, I think I have an aversion to fame to some extent. Like I think that it's undesirable.
I promise we will not become famous. I
You'd never know
absolutely.
that, dude. You never know. I think I might share a drink with you actually.
Okay, that sounds good. But on the stream, so you
Yeah,
have to
what's
make
up?
it so we're both there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
equality. This guy's always
Well,
talking to me about equality.
well, you're tiny. Well, now you're huge, and now we're equal.
Yeah, what was I thinking about the other day? I was just talking to someone about the meaning of life, one of those deep questions, and
Yeah.
we were talking about, I think, consciousness, a fun one to try to talk about. Hey, if you want to talk about topics that we really don't have any business discussing, consciousness is probably one of them because I don't know shit about it,
I took a
but I'll
class
still
on
try.
consciousness.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you learn?
There's uh,
Summarize it in one sentence.
uh sorry, did I interrupt? I feel like you were in the middle of saying something now. Or did I make that up?
I was rambling, I think.
Okay. I feel like I interrupted you, but yeah, I did take a class on it. It was like, I mean, it was essentially like philosophy, psychology mix, and it was how we develop. Basically, that it's a social because we're social creatures. Around age 4 or 5, we start to realize what's called a theory of mind,
Mm-hmm.
that other people have minds.
This
So
I
we
know.
realize it, yeah, by basically just interacting with other people and just slowly realizing they have their own goals and selves and so on. And there's so much to say, and it's not like I remember all of it, but yeah, consciousness. I guess it's like what's it called? An epi phenomenon, maybe. Like it's like a meta phenomenon from other phenomenons. It's like you could
Emergent, I think, is what you're looking for.
emergent. Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, that's the word for it. So it's like an emergent property, something being conscious. We went into like reading papers about
Can I
the
interrupt?
zombies. Yeah,
So, like a swarm of bees, conscious?
I mean, that's a really good question. I don't know. Because they react to stimuli.
Together
Uh, bees communicate extremely well.
with
So
chemical
yeah,
and electrical signals, arguably, too. Just
and
like our brain.
motion. Or you know about the motion they do. The little bee dance. They
Yeah, yeah.
waggle,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
literally pointing where the food and stuff is. Um,
But,
but
like,
yeah,
a swarm is different, or, like, even birds doing
yeah,
it. They're operating essentially as a unit.
it's a superorganism. I feel like it's called.
Sure?
Um, yeah, but so you could say it's different, a superorganism from an organism. Like you could say, there's a difference, but you could also say where's the line and one becomes the other. We're getting really good audio though. I checked it, and you know how we've never gotten like both of us with good audio?
Yeah.
When we do it through Discord, we do. It's pretty sick. Your mic
Good.
sounds really good, by the way.
Thanks. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I realize I can mess with the gain here.
You should be an ASMR person. Oh my God, we have 10,000 viewers.
I
No, I'm
just
just
have to show a little bit more cleavage and I can make it on
kidding.
here.
Yeah.
I'll drop my OnlyFans in the
Oh,
chat.
good, dude. Nice. You're doing that entrepreneur life.
I saw someone on Reddit post in like a financial planning subreddit, like a 19-year-old, presumably female, saying like I'm making $70,000 a month on OnlyFans and I don't know what to do with it.
70,000 a month?
70,000 a month, yeah.
That's like the top. Like,
Yeah, there's like
yeah,
5 to 10 people probably
yeah.
pulling that,
That's,
maybe.
yeah. That's insane.
It's a,
Yeah.
a lot of income.
Yeah.
You
Oh
can't
my
hold that up
God.
forever though, so you better make good choices with it. Sounds like
Seriously.
sounds like she is.
Wow.
Okay, the thing that you said to me, topics that are off limits, we should set ground rules.
Yeah, okay. Let's
Is
do
your
it.
standard something that we don't have a lived experience for?
I mean, I guess that's a good standard to probably have. I don't I can't immediately think of situations where I don't have a lived experience in it and I still think it's worthwhile to like talk about. But I mean, you can bring stuff up and I'll tell you my thoughts on it or my opinion, but I'll probably say I don't know that much about it or something like that. Oh, also click out of streamer, like click the X in Discord at the top where it says like streamer mode is enabled or yeah, on the right side. Yeah. Nice.
Cool.
But anyways, yeah, you know, it's certain, yeah, that's, I guess, but not a hard rule. Like if I don't know. I think I talk about things sometimes where I don't have lived experience with the thing, but certain things it just doesn't make sense. I guess it's hard to say a specific rule, but if you want to talk about something, man, you can bring it up. I'll tell you what I feel about it. So
But you shouldn't tell me if what you feel about it if you haven't had that. No, really, I don't
I'll tell you
understand.
what I feel about the topic is what I mean. Like, because there's a
I
difference. Yeah, it's how I feel
go
about
ahead.
talking about something on a podcast on Twitch. Is it's not like yeah.
Ooh, so your standards for it are different than if we were like sitting in your room together drinking a beer.
Yeah, I mean,
So then
yeah,
putting it out into the world, different
yeah,
standards than in a private conversation.
and the opinions
Okay.
obviously wouldn't be any different. I mean, it's
Oh
not like
yeah,
my opinion.
sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Just gonna
but
dog whistle on the podcast and then
yeah,
in
no,
private.
I mean, I really, it's just, I still wouldn't be interested in talking about the things that I wasn't interested in talking about on the podcast. I just wouldn't think it's like as awkward and uncomfortable necessarily. It would still be pretty awkward and uncomfortable.
I have a question
Um,
for you. I know
yeah.
you've said some stuff about the military industrial complex, and I think
Yeah.
you're probably not for it generally.
Are people for the military industrial complex?
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so.
Absolutely,
But
yeah.
like, hey, I support the military industrial complex.
They probably don't call it that,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But no,
but
I do yeah, I do not like it, obviously. Yeah,
what do
for
you
sure.
think about the argument that it's not really so much about corporatist capture and lobbying of our Congress, but more so it's the United States' largest jobs program by the federal government?
I mean, that's probably like a bright side of it, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess we could probably achieve that with lots of way better jobs. Like, I just
Like
think.
what? What do you
I
think?
mean, I'm not like a civil planner, but like literally what you do, what I do, what like many people do. It's just like something productive. I don't, and maybe I'm not going to act like we should have no national military. I'd like to live in a world where countries don't have national
Yeah,
militaries,
sure,
but
but
yeah, but that's not the reality. So I'm not saying tomorrow we should, get rid of the military. But yeah, I think like long term, it's kind of a racket. It feels like a huge racket. I don't think they're doing stuff that's productive and really benefiting the people who are paying for it. It's ridiculous.
it's interesting because
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. I think that it is a racket. I think
Yeah.
that it's incredibly wasteful and inefficient with the money that we shovel there.
Oh, they
But
just lose billions of dollars.
but
Yeah.
I also think it's kind of an arbitrary standard to set for it's too big, but how big is the right amount? I definitely agree with the given
Oh, for
resources they're
sure.
misallocated. If
Yeah,
it
for sure.
But how do you decide on what the proper military is? And
Yeah.
also, I'd like you to answer, will you change course on that if you see, for example, like China making more aggressive moves in the South China Sea, or you see some sort of annexation go on in Afghanistan, for example, by
Yeah.
the Russians, or something to that effect?
Sure, sure. Like I don't know, all the details about what the US should do in those situations. I could come up with some opinions, but I'm sure that what we spend on those two situations still honestly is probably a drop in the bucket of like whatever it is, like 800 billion or something. I could be making that up, but I think it's around there or something like that. A year that we spend on the military. But so it's not about how big it is. It's because it obviously the idea of it being a complex is sort of made up. It is just like a bunch of things, but they do interact like a complex. But like it's more not the size of it, but just like I don't think that the functions that are being performed are necessary in a lot of the cases. I'm not going to act like an expert. I do actually have a lot of research I one time saved about demilitarization, and I've been meaning to read more about it. So I'll try to do more of that and tell you more informed stuff. But I mostly just like feel that it just doesn't make sense that we would need to spend this much. So just it seems like yes, so it's certainly going to be a lower amount, but I'm not going to act like I know the budget and what it is really made up of down to like any sort of detail at all.
So
But yeah, 100 million for an F-35 or some fighter jet or some shit. It's like where does that money go? That's a lot of money, and then we have like 100 of them. I don't believe we need 100 of them. But yeah, I'm not going to pretend like I'm an expert on this stuff.
you could
I don't
save
have the lived experience as a fighter jet operator.
you could save a lot of money if you deregulated the industry. Just
What would that do?
you'd be able to make stuff a lot faster and cheaper.
So the government would save money, but what does deregulating even mean in this context?
Like for example, in making, let's just stick to that, making an F-35 or something like that. Lockheed, who produces the F-35, has to jump through an inordinate amount of red tape in order to produce it, and each part of the aircraft is inspected a million times, and there are very specific regulations about where to source the materials from. Some of those make sense, but there's a lot of hoops to jump through. It isn't just like the standard to make a product that you sell on Amazon or eBay.
Right,
Not the same standards for selling a product to the US government. They're very,
right.
very different. Some people might think that's for good reason, but I'm saying that is something you could do. You could decrease the regulation. They'd be cheaper to make, they'd be faster to make, and you'd save money. There would be costs to that. That wouldn't be money, though.
Don't you think, even if what you're saying is true and you could like take enough of those regulations away that it would be significantly faster and with no loss of like quality or like not a significant loss of quality, even if that was true, don't you think it's possible that the government would still spend the same amount to sort of subsidize this industry and still be entangled to a significant degree in other ways that wouldn't necessarily reduce the cost. Like maybe a little, there'd be some like, oh, well, because of this innovation, we're going to spend this much less money.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess it's kind of arbitrary. There's got to be some sort of logic to why do we spend money, what's worth supporting. But I think we've gone defense crazy a little bit.
I
Yeah.
don't disagree. I mean, I think that it's a very complex, multifaceted problem. It's not as simple as military good, military bad.
Yeah.
Nor do I think you're trying to say that, but there
No,
are
yeah.
many people, there are a lot of mouths to feed, and some of those
Yeah.
mouths are regulators. A lot of them are lobbyists and other
Yeah.
corporate interests that rely on the government teat in order to continue getting paid. It's
Hmm.
a complex problem. It's not so simple to solve something like that, and the very people that would have to make decisions to reduce that are they themselves incentivized not to do so.
Oh, for sure. There's so much lobbying and then there's so much subsidies. It's like this sort of mutual parasite relationship without knowing much of the details, but
But
that's
so
yeah.
good example of like how you maybe could make a change or disrupt the industry would be like what SpaceX has done to Boeing mostly, but to I mean to a couple of the companies in the area, you know, kind of screwing them over, being able to invent a reusable rocket to service the International Space Station, reducing the cost of sending stuff to space to low Earth orbit by a factor of 10.
Yeah, I mean that's good. I don't doesn't SpaceX they don't get like subsidies from the government just like other companies. They're not like
Subsidies? No, they get paid by the government. I mean, they win
okay,
contracts
so they
from the
get
government.
contracts.
I
So
wouldn't
they're
say it's the
prob
same as a subsidy, but
no, it's certainly not. I was under the impression maybe there were subsidies with the defense industry or stuff like that. Maybe not. I don't know. But well, contracts. So there's a mutual relationship. Is that so? But are you saying that's like a free market win, or is that sort of what you're implying? Because I don't. I guess I don't really. I mean, I guess, but I don't. Or is Boeing more dependent on the government in some way than
I just
SpaceX?
what I'm trying to get at is like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, I think so,
Okay.
but
Sure. Yeah.
more so the culture and the way that they operate. Boeing is entrenched in the cycle, and everyone it's
Yeah.
status quo, and it's going to keep going as status quo, and everyone along the line knows how that $700 billion is going to get divvied up each year. It's going
Oh,
to grow by a
yeah, I
little
believe
bit.
that.
But when
Yeah,
someone like SpaceX comes along and disrupts that, it forces people to have to make some changes.
sure.
That's
Yeah.
all that I was trying to say is that those
Yeah.
industries are bloated and they're not incentivized to change their behavior or their spending at all.
Yeah, I think Boeing's probably been like it's been around for so long. I'm sure it's extremely like deeply entrenched with the government. I mean, Trump was always like
100%.
talking about how much he loved Boeing and stuff.
Look at where like there's a lot of interplay even in employment. If you look at like some of where the generals or high-ranking military officials go,
Oh yeah,
there's a lot of I don't know, just
cross-pollination.
nepotism.
Yeah,
Yeah, cross
yeah.
pollination is the nice sounding corporate word for it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There should not be a revolving door. I think you should not be allowed to, I guess, serve in certain functions at companies, I guess lobbying functions, if you've worked in the government and vice versa. But I guess that's regulation, but it would like itself, I think, make things cheaper because there would be less sort of like uh hey, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine forever and just backdoor deals. But the other thing is we're talking about like an industry potentially decreasing in size. And so, yeah, there are always going to be like people who their jobs are gone, and that's a huge issue.
Yeah.
So I don't pretend to have the solution to that. I assume that there's people who study how to do that because industries have been going away for centuries, but, uh, we gotta, we're able to move beyond something. We gotta move beyond it, but in a responsible way. So I don't know.
Are you familiar with the guy Eric Weinstein?
Wait a second. Which one is he? Is
No
he no.
relation to Harvey.
No, but he's not related to Brett
Yeah,
either.
yeah, they're
Oh, he's the
brothers.
brother. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
they're
him. Yeah,
brothers.
I've seen some stuff about him. Not a lot though,
He's
but
been
yeah.
mostly MIA. He had a podcast that he hasn't put out a new episode for in I think a year.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure where he left. Maybe he left for like mental health reasons or something. Just like super toxic to be in the public limelight.
Yeah.
Being a
Yeah, but
contrarian. But anyway,
we
he's
we've
coined.
been doing this podcast for 20 minutes and I'm having mental health issues. So
Those
I
are that's unrelated. He's talked about something called the embedded growth obligation. How like it's well, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's
what? I don't
an
yeah.
assumption that our society has to grow at roughly like 3 to 5. Well, shit, I guess if you look at the stock market, it's more like 7% every year.
Okay.
There's an embedded growth obligation, growth in population, growth in value of companies, growth in GDP. All of these things have to grow. That's an assumption, and
Okay.
that drives a lot of things. A lot of things have to happen in order for us to grow at 7% every year
Sure.
forever. And it isn't sustainable in and of itself. So something's got to give.
I mean, I completely agree. That's sort of why capitalism is bad in my opinion because it asks for eternal growth essentially. But what does he mean? Because I feel like or is that what you mean or you don't relate it to
I
that?
don't think that capitalism is bad is a fair conclusion from that. I think
I
that
don't even mean that. Yeah, that's not a good way.
capitalism is a temporary state of being, I think.
Yeah,
And
I
I
think so too.
think for the current state of society, it's the most optimal market slash political structure and
Yeah.
also the most ethical one. but if and when 99% of all jobs are automated, it isn't going to be a functioning society as we know it with a
Hmm.
capitalist structure, because those that have capital will not need people. Forget about exploiting people and the
Yeah.
workers owning the we won't need workers, and then
Yeah.
forget about them.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's always a lot of use to extract from people. It's very hard for people to go beyond exploiting people, and I think part of the reason slavery stopped being uh, legal was that it stopped being optimal, and actually people treated their slaves worse than they would wage laborers. They didn't treat them well, obviously, and so they ended up not getting as much quality work out of slaves as they would wage laborers. And I could be wrong. I've just only learned a few things about this here and there, but my understanding is that's part of the reason that slavery stopped being an optimal position. So I think, or set of
Well, it's illegal.
relationships. Well, I'm saying part of the reason that enough people changed their mind that it was to being it's bad
Oh,
is
interesting.
to make it illegal is that it wasn't economically viable. So I think really that's just part of what you were saying. So, I think that, yeah,
Or
people will always be exploited. There's no
I
use to kill everybody
I've
necessarily.
never heard that argument before. It's a really interesting one. I thought it was the
Look it
invention
up.
of the
Yeah.
cotton gin that mostly
Oh,
made it not as useful to have slaves that were picking cotton when you could
oh.
have a machine doing it a lot faster. So, an investment in that kind of slave labor was not most optimal. It made more sense to buy some sort of heavy machinery if you could afford it.
I could be wrong, but I think the cotton gin is for like weaving the cotton. I could
Oh
be or like
shit.
or,
Is
or
that
whatever
true?
the not weaving, but whatever the next step in it
Yeah,
is.
look up.
But but slaves might have done that also. And like even if that's not true, or even if that's true, there probably is other machinery, and I think machinery does definitely play a significant role in these kinds of changes. Um
Yeah, it
but
separates the seeds from the cotton. It's not picking it, it's separating
okay,
it, but
yeah.
it's still a manual job that a
But
person would do.
anyways, I agree with you. I didn't saying capitalism is bad is not at all like what I mean to say, because that's totally pointless. It's definitely a temporary state, and I don't necessarily agree that it's the most ethical, but it's certainly the most like functional in the last 200 years. I think it's starting to be less functional, and that's I think why more people are socialist. But yeah, there was like a point before that you made that I
What
wanted to
so the
respond
embedded
to.
growth obligation,
Oh
yours.
yeah.
So what did you do
Yeah.
about population?
What do you mean? I don't know.
Well,
Like,
the population will grow to an unsustainable to a number that the earth cannot support in an indefinite period of time. Sorry,
I
a
actually am
definite
not
period of
sure.
time.
I don't know about that because they've been saying that for a while. The idea that like that's like an old-fashioned idea in my mind, because I think we could easily take care of the people that are alive if we wanted to, and way more people. It's possible we would have to at some point limit reproduction. Maybe not. I hope not. But like I don't know. But I don't I don't really care if in the future everybody agreed it's ethical that they limit themselves to having one kid, then that's the society that exists. It's hard to pass judgment on that. But I think that's an inherent right. We have to have kids. So for now, I think all we can do is try to take care of everybody. But, uh, you know, I don't know. I don't believe that. There's limited resources, but we don't use them like to try to take care of everybody. So it's hard to even say. But I've read some stuff by like Buckminster Fuller, the guy who made like geodesic domes. You must know him, right?
I know of him. I
Yeah,
don't know.
yeah,
I don't know his work well.
yeah. Because he was an engineer, I think, or some.
What do you think?
He
We all know
certainly.
each other?
No, I just would think you study his stuff. He's a little offbeat, but definitely
Yeah,
successful. And he
it's
was all about designing sustainable stuff, and that's why geodesic domes work in a certain way. And he made like a car that runs on a extremely small amount of, I think, uh, gas and stuff. But also, yeah, it's just he was all about how to design like a living space that could be sustainable. And I think there are ways that if we wanted to, we could provide for more people. So I don't buy that sort of, there's a limited number of people we can support, but If we start trying and then it's still limited, then I'll change my mind. But
I really do believe that there is a hard limit at some point without some sort of immense step change in technology in the way that we do things, whether it's
yeah.
like we're no longer using carbon-based life to support our consciousness and we're like
Oh my
swarm.
god.
Yeah, that's I guess a big difference, but I'm serious.
Yeah, but
As
you said it like it was gonna be a small thing. I was
well, with our
expecting.
current needs of like, we need a place to shit and we need food that's grown, that a lot of it needs to have photosynthesis, and
Hmm.
we have a huge amount of protein that we need.
Yeah.
There's a lot of constraints there for human beings, and so there's only a fixed amount of workable ground. There's a fixed
Yeah.
amount of fresh water, and in order to desalinate water, it requires a significant amount of energy, which
Yeah.
creates heat. So there are some hard limits to what we can work with on Earth in terms of how many people it can support.
It's interesting because I sort of think that's one of the reasons it's ethical to be a vegan, which I feel like I've heard you say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I've heard you say like, yeah, I think being vegan is the ethical thing and it's
Vegetarian,
okay, vegetarian. Well, yeah, the
they're
way I feel, and
different, but yeah,
I'm not a vegan or vegetarian. I do eat a lot of vegan and vegetarian food, very little meat, but I'm not strict about it because I can't be strict about things. But I do think that's a good reason for being a vegan or vegetarian because the amount of land we waste with like pastures for meat that we eat is actually stupid. And then they eat the grass too. According to people who are smarter than me, it's not a good idea. So
it's very costly from an energy
yeah,
standpoint. It takes a
yeah,
lot of fresh water to get a pound of beef. It takes
yeah.
a lot. Yeah, it is
And
very
we
costly.
don't need to be eating beef. Like it's just like I mean, we're too
Yeah, but
attached to
it's
like
delicious,
I
right? Have
know,
you
and
considered?
I had a I think I had a burger yesterday. Like I'll eat that stuff, but we don't need to be, and it is unethical.
Oh, you
It's
should
like
probably
it,
be eating crickets, honestly, or some other insect.
yeah,
Like
and like
per gram of protein, it's way more efficient.
it's just like I really I don't think there's proof that we need to be eating that stuff. So it sucks and you can't convince people. But yeah, I guess the question is like how do we imagine that there's going to be a world where people in any sort of collective way acknowledge that they have to make whether it's a reduction to how many kids they have or yeah, not eating meat. It's just I mean, I guess we live in America, so that's a little bit different than other countries
It's an
sometimes.
important thing to think about, though, that each country is sort of fighting to for the top position. I mean, others are real contenders and some are not.
Yeah.
But if you do something that is, call it ethical for the greater good of all humanity, you
Yeah.
are putting yourself at a handicap relative to other nations. So, like, for
Yeah.
example, burning coal or fossil fuels, right now they're easy to transport, highly energy dense, or very energy dense, cheap, and I don't know what else I said, but they're
Sure,
readily
sure.
available. If you
Yeah.
stop doing that, you're going to potentially open yourself up to being overtaken by someone who is willing to do that. And you're both polluting the same air. So this is
Yeah.
like a mixture of like tragedy of the commons and economic powers all vying for numero uno.
So what do you do? I mean, because to
You,
me, the answer, what?
yeah, no, go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say? I'm curious.
You have to innovate your way out of it.
Okay, but I feel like we've been doing that. Or we've been innovating our way into it because really the real incentive is to innovate your way into it. Because, like you were talking about the limits of how many people we can care about and stuff like that,
Yep.
people can't really care about like future generations, unfortunately.
Exactly. Yeah,
But
this
that
is a
does,
great way to tie it in.
but just because people can't always or usually enough care about future generations, because some people can, let's be honest, people aren't faking. Some people care about future generations. I
Like
mean,
Elon Musk.
okay, anyone who's trying to make the future better genuinely really does care about the, future generations. So like, I just think it's it's a fair question like why people can't, but I think it's because they're incentivized not to. And I think it's not like oh no, what I wanted to say is just because it's hard for us to think about future generations and care about them doesn't mean it's it's like not important that we care about future generations.
I agree with
Yeah,
you,
like
but
it's still ethically necessary, even though it's a really big challenge. So, yeah, anything we can do, but innovating your way out of it, yeah, sure. I mean, absolutely. I'm not trying to say that's definitely part of the answer, and that's why I mentioned Buckminster Fuller. Like, yeah, absolutely, dude. I just don't necessarily think that equates to like free market necessarily. Maybe in some ways, free market has good benefits, but um, I don't know. I don't know. Don't government contracts like help Elon Musk's company like do what they want to do? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't like the government also. I just want to state that because we talk about this and I take this position. I don't like the government and I don't think there even should be governments.
isn't that
In
a
my
picture of Fauci behind you? Oh, it's a plant. Never mind. Sorry. You don't think there
so
should be governments? Are
I
you an ANCAP a little bit?
I don't know, not an ANCAP. It would be an ANCOM if anything. But no, I'm not. I'm not. I just literally don't. Ideally I don't think we should need like to give unique powers to a state. I think we could have that more diversified into other organizations. But regardless, in this situation we have, you have to make decisions based on the situation we're in. And I think it's fair to look at, hey, they're helping these companies do what they want to do. And of course, the state's been doing that for many years, helping companies.
I hate giving power to the state. It's like it's it's probably the thing I care about most with respect to government. Hey.
Yeah. Hey,
Thanks.
what's up, Danny?
She waved, but she can't
Nice.
hear. Thank you
Nice.
so
Good
much.
to see you. What'd she give you? A beer?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we got a growler the other day. Whatever you're
Cheers.
cooking smells real good, by the
I
way.
heated up my sweet potato.
Nice.
Oh, nice. Cool.
Sweet.
Better cheers first. But
Cheers. Cheers. I'm gonna get a refill soon.
cheers, buddy. I'm not gonna need to refill this soon.
Nice.
I hardly drink at all.
Nice. That's a good way to be.
Yeah. I was told, I think it was when I was in Germany,
Are you engaged?
for work. Nah, dude, we're married, but we'll get back to that.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, we're married.
You're hilarious. You're hilarious.
Anyway, supposedly you're supposed to have your like mouth underneath the foam submerged because it gives like a better taste of the beer. I don't know if
Okay.
it's true
Is
or
that
not.
true? Yeah, that's so
Who knows?
interesting.
But yeah, we got married. It's just something I
Congratulations,
really
man.
want to talk about on
We don't have to
stream.
talk about it. We don't have to talk about it. Congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, no worries. I could dox myself because like there's not that many married folk out there anymore. Yeah, the commune thing, like or communism. I think the idea of it. This is a tired tale, but the idea of it sounds real nice. It just doesn't work at a large scale. Period. End statement.
Yeah.
It
I'm glad
works great in like a group of 20 people, but on the scale of our society, doesn't work.
I don't think, because I don't like a commune might work on a scale of a small scale, but I don't think communism itself. Communism almost by definition needs a huge scale for it to be supported. And some people would argue that's part of why certain examples of what might have tried to be communism didn't work was because it was within a world where, I mean, you're swimming upstream to a ridiculous extent as a communist society. So that's part of why. I'm not trying to make that argument because I think that's not necessarily a good argument because, like, you could say to that, like, well, if it's not working, this is the world we live in, so tough shit. Like, why? You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm glad we got to this point because I've actually been reading a book I wanted to tell you about. So this book is about why the failure of the Soviet Union actually proves Marx's theories and, like, the critique of capitalism right. And the point they make is that the Bolshevik Revolution, which is considered a communist revolution, could not have been a communist revolution because it didn't come from capitalism. You can only go to communism from capitalism because of the good things about capitalism, because you need capitalism to furnish you with the abundance and production and all the resources you need for a society where people don't necessarily need to, sell their weight, their labor and stuff like that. But anyways, it's a really interesting idea because if you think about it, Russia in 1917 was not an advanced economy at all. And the author's making the argument that they were barely capitalist at all, that they were essentially feudal. So I haven't gotten to the end, but I think what the book is trying to say is that the last whatever 100 years in Russia have been sort of just a long capitalist revolution, a long what they would call like a bourgeois revolution, where laborers were no longer serfs, and then obviously that was 100 years ago. But anyways, I wanted to tell you about it because it's interesting because a lot of the other communist societies in the world were part of the Soviet Union, and I don't know. I mean, yeah, my point is we should work towards a society where people don't have unfair amounts of power over each other is essentially my point. And this book makes an interesting argument that the Soviet Union could not have been communist because they were never really capitalist yet. And actually, wait, I'll say one more thing.
Sure.
Actually, at the time, because they quote, things I don't know about this. And one thing they say is that the Bolshevik, like revolutionaries before the revolution, communicated with Marx at one point in like the late 1800s before he died or something. And like they were like, "Do you think we can have a revolution in Russia? You always say that people can't be a or you've said before people can't be a communist society without being capitalist." And he said, according to this book, that they could succeed if there was communism globally or in European countries. So that's why the Soviet Union was always very focused on trying to make communism around the world, but they failed, and so they died, and it didn't work. But I don't know, because I don't know. It's to me, it's something to work towards, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think people should have to like, you know, be super poor when like some people have ridiculous amounts of wealth. I just inherently have the intuition that's not right.
Yeah, because you've a pretty, I don't know, you've a general sense, or at least you feel that you do, of this like ingrained idea of equality, or like a sense of fairness that, in your opinion, is being violated, and you see it being violated by perceived inequity in financial power, perhaps.
Sure.
But I think that there are many different kinds of power distributions. It's just one that I'm focusing on, and maybe you're not trying to. I think about a relationship with like, I'm speeding, right? I'm violating the agreed upon law that was passed by our system democratically, that we won't go above this speed because it puts others in too much danger. And I get pulled over, and I immediately am instilled with a fear that this could be a fatal incident for me. Now, I'd like to leave out the racial aspect of this for now.
Sure. Yeah.
But for me, I'm very conscious of that. I think about it, and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that this is essentially, you're a dog rolling over onto your back and showing your belly to a cop until they've decided that, you're not a threat to them, or like you've submitted enough that like I might let you off with a ticket, and you can go off on your day. Or maybe if you're really lucky and really nice and ingratiate the shit out of them, they might just give you a warning if you give them a lot of sir and yes sir, officer, sir. I really don't like that relationship, and I don't have a great solution for how to replace that with something more ethical. So what I would like to ask of you is, does Marx or anyone else have a good solution for what to replace capitalism with that is ethical?
So obviously, I am not extremely, expert in this stuff. I think I know more than maybe the average person in America, maybe. But as far as I know, that's a really interesting example because you could probably think of other examples. If you own property, you probably run into other issues that are like being pulled over or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like the
100%.
state interfering in another way. And I think, you'd probably want to look to people who talk about like prison abolition, I guess, to speak to this specific example. But the idea is like, it doesn't have to be this way, right? Like it
Yeah.
could just be, you could have other supervisory organizations that don't function in the same way. And to me, yeah, I believe that like some, as we started off talking, some people are maybe more selfish, some people are maybe less selfish. I think there's some variation, but like I just think it's a matter of giving power to the right people. In any community, there are people who like have a better sense of like how things should run. How do you do that? I think you probably have to break down old systems and build up new ones, or give just, like one really, yeah, I don't know maybe what but Marx mostly critiqued capitalism. He didn't really talk much about like a utopian communist society, and I think he critiqued that a lot as far as I've heard, but he didn't really come up with like how things should be necessarily, and that could be a fair criticism maybe. Or I could be wrong. I don't really know. But yeah, I think as far as like the prison abolition stuff, like I think it's like that's why people make that argument is because when you give the state more power to enforce more things, it just yeah, it's drunk on power. People don't necessarily. I don't know. I sort of I don't know. Maybe I'm rambling, but hopefully that's some sort of response.
All right, the prison thing. So, would you be in favor of? Because it doesn't seem right to me either that we just put people in a cage indefinitely.
Right. Right.
But there are some people that are too violent, or they have too much wanton disregard for the rules that they don't
Yeah.
really fit so nicely with others. When we were kids, what would happen is like if someone really just didn't follow the rules of a game or whatever, you just say like you can't play with us anymore, right? You would
Right.
exclude them. You wouldn't
Right.
certainly wouldn't hold them down with a gun to their head and say you're in
Right.
this cage now. Now,
Right.
I don't know if kindergarten playground time is the best proxy for how a society should run, but perhaps banishment would be a more ethical
Where do they
thing to do.
go?
Greenland? That's why Trump was trying to buy it, right? No, I mean honestly, like, I think that one
There's
possible
nowhere to
solution could be like tiers of society. I see how this could be problematic
That's what we
for
already
sure.
have. Yeah.
Well, you say that you have to go live with these other people, work it out amongst yourselves. You don't have to,
Yeah.
we're not going to arm you, we're not going to watch you, we're going to guard our borders, but you guys can
Yeah.
go live free. You just have to live among these people.
Is that not like how Australia, like
Yeah, it
how
is.
England sent people to Australia?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it just doesn't work because there's nowhere
Yeah.
to go. There is all the land is already owned, and like it's what are you gonna where are you gonna go?
All the land is owned? What do you mean?
You're gonna send them to some other country? Like what?
The land has always been owned. What do you
I'm
mean?
just saying there's nowhere new for them to go. That's like
Antarctica. That's not, their
well,
population's
then you're
quite
just
sparse.
sentencing people to death. Like,
I think there are ways around that for sure to
no.
like terraform it to be slightly more habitable, but either way,
Okay,
give them
okay,
a
okay,
jacket
okay.
or something.
Look,
Yeah,
the
it's
point, the question, I think the real question is like, what function does taking people out of society really serve? Because
yeah.
really, like, not necessarily, we're not going to send people away, but we do essentially do that by putting them
That's what
in
prison
jail.
is. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
that's,
just more costly.
by the way, have you seen Us, that movie?
Oh man, I think I've been meaning to watch it.
Because
Is
I,
that the follow up to Get Out, or it's by
yes, it
Jordan?
is.
No, I
Yes.
haven't.
I finally watched Get Out just this past like few weeks ago and Us. And holy fuck. I
You like,
don't watch
yeah.
yes, I don't watch horror movies at all. And those were like they earned the horror. Those are so fucking conceptual and surreal and just beautiful. But anyways, Us is, about that well,
I don't know. I don't know what it's about. It's on my
I
list
won't
of
give it
to
I won't give
watch.
it away, but
You
it sort
don't.
of it speaks to some similar themes of another class, a sort of class that's been pushed away. And
Okay.
so like that's not that's something you'll just see. But anyways, like I think it's a very good question. I mean, I don't mean to be like we can just ask people to stop being murderers and they'll stop. Like obviously it's more complicated than that. I think are you familiar with like the concept of restorative justice or that phrase.
Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
doing things where you're trying to, so like for example, like someone would have to pay, well, maybe pay restitution is one example, but like doing something to try to make up for the harm that they did.
That's probably actually part of it. I guess I don't think of that side of it as much as just the fact that you're restoring almost the person themselves rather than them like repaying the debt. But it's true, they're repaying the debt in other ways. But I guess the way I think about it is I think it has to do with literally like conversations, uh, almost like therapy or something, but like literally getting them in the room either with the victims or the victims' families or whatever it is, and having a mediated discussion. I don't think that solves all the problems or anything like that. I would never want to say that. But like I think there are just more complicated ways to face the question of like how do people change? Because honestly, when people talk about like cancel culture and shit, like I don't believe cancel culture is a problem as I've expressed to you, and I could talk about more. I don't think it's a problem. I don't think people are really canceled. Even fucking Bill Cosby was let out of prison. But like, I think everybody whose career is perfectly fine who we say has been canceled. But if you think about it, we're essentially canceling people when we send them to prison. We're canceling their lives in significant ways, and I think that's the real problem that we should think about. Like, why do we take away their rights to vote?
That one doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, why do we take away their freedom of movement for nonviolent crimes? But no, dude, these questions are so hard. I don't mean to make them simple. Obviously, I'm a therapist, so like I always think about how do people change, how do they not change? And it's not simple to just have people change. But yeah, we're not doing a good job with locking them up because they get PTSD from fucking prison. They become worse.
Look, I mean, shit, look at recidivism rates.
Yeah, it's so
They're
bad.
pretty bad. I
Yeah.
don't know if what's nice is like every country is kind of running its own experiment, and
Yeah.
so I know that a common argument here is like, look at the Nordic countries, like Norway. Look at their prisons. That shit, they look nicer than a freaking Motel 6 on the highway in
Yeah.
America. I don't know that the analogies there are always great. I don't think that our society maps well onto theirs and vice versa. But perhaps there's a page that we could take out of their book because as it is right now, our current prison system is ineffective at healing, I guess you could say, for the victims.
Yeah.
Maybe it gives some sort of like small solace in that it's quite punitive, but for the perpetrator, it doesn't really do anything to fix them. It just shows them how horrible it'll be if you do something like this again. And it's quite expensive too. I think it's roughly $100,000 per year
Oh, really?
to have someone incarcerated. Yeah, in a
Wow.
prison. It's expensive. I mean,
That is, yeah.
it's a lot of money to do to say, yeah, we gotta lock this person up.
Yeah.
I think that there has to be some sort of, if we wanted to do it better, there has to be some sort of path to a second chance. And I realized that with sentences, that's sort of baked in, where if you do something that's like a bad misdemeanor or even a medium felony, you're not going to prison for 30 years the first time. So you sort of
Right.
can be given second chances in a lot of cases. But if you need a, oh, we got a bot in the chat.
Really?
Yeah, but
That's awesome.
thanks for checking us out, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's got to be some sort of like path to not rehabilitation, but like
Yeah.
and I can't think of the word that I mean, but like
No, I think
um
yeah, absolutely. Rehabilitation.
salvation perhaps is
Yeah,
better since
sure.
we're in the context of an already somewhat like biblical punitive system where it's like
Yeah.
penance is the mode where it's like you have to do some sort of like you're doing your time, it's like it's
Yeah.
very biblical in its
That's
origins.
true. That's why I think it's a little barbaric. Not that everything that's like biblical or anything is like barbaric, but I think,
A
yeah,
lot of it.
locking people up. Yeah. And I think, banishing people, it's like a funny idea. Like, because
I'm serious.
I know, but at the end of the day, in my opinion, it's like it doesn't face the hard question that we're facing when we talk about rehabilitation. Because it would be easy, but think about what you'd lose. Imagine like what crimes do you punish in that way? And it's the same thing with jail. But yeah, I'd like to think that we can come up with ways to have systems of, I guess, parole boards or whoever makes these determinations in jail for someone being released. Or I do think jails should be much nicer. I don't think they don't need to be a resort, but I don't think it should feel like you're in a torture chamber or something. I mean, and you shouldn't have to, for instance, with COVID, you shouldn't have a higher risk of COVID. I'm sorry. It's not fair for someone to commit a marijuana crime or any, most crimes and then fucking get COVID in jail and die. And that's been happening so much. But so I think we need to be just about the punishments we have.
Well,
That's,
I
yeah.
think maybe said a little bit differently, we should be very intentional about the exact punishment that we're giving and not just you are now a second class citizen. Let's make sure your life's worse than it otherwise would be. Like, give a punishment
Yeah.
that fits the crime, so to speak,
Yeah.
rather than just like, you fucked up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you lied on your taxes? Yeah, but you did it a lot and there was a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
you're in here with this guy that like stabbed his sister and,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I don't think that makes sense either, for sure.
No.
But it's not a big voting block, frankly. It's a
Right.
voting block of zero, I think,
They
for
have no support.
felons
And
anyway.
they're like the invisible population. Like when I lived in New Orleans, I would drive past the jail and like I didn't even know it was a jail or a prison
You
until
saw the
like
signs
years.
for stop, don't stop for hitchhikers, right?
No, they didn't have those there, but I know they have those somewhere. But yeah, eventually someone told me, "Oh, that's a prison," and I was like, "Oh, wow, that's a prison." But yeah, they're like invisible to us. But it's so many important questions that are raised by this kind of stuff. It's so interesting to think about because yeah, at the end of the day, you want to potentially punish people, but like to me, it's like, what's the point of punishment? Like it in itself is not good unless it leads to something good, I guess is the way I see it.
I will say that there seems to be, based on the very accurate portrayal of the world through the eyes of Reddit, America seems to have more of a thirst for vengeance in the legal system than some of the other countries that I've seen,
Yeah.
with the exception perhaps of African and Middle Eastern cultures. I think that America's pretty high on the list of like, we want this person to suffer,
No.
with in terms of punishment. And I see in Europe, I don't see the same kind of, I don't know,
Really?
type of justice that people
Yeah.
thirst for.
That's interesting. Yeah. To me, just on principle, it's wrong. Like yeah, it's like if you are like, for example, the death penalty.
I knew that's
If
where this was going.
Yeah, if it happened to bring like amazing joy and relief to the families of the victims, maybe I'd think about it. But it doesn't even. It like I don't even think it makes them feel good that often. Like it's like not necessarily a consolation. Like it just doesn't even speak to the original issue.
Hmm.
And if you're inflicting just like psychological trauma on someone being in prison, it's like even if they did something really bad, are they just going to come out and be even more fucked up now? If so, was that really worth it? No way.
Yeah.
Like who benefits from that?
There's two separate, pretty distinct arguments. There's utility, which one's doing more for society on a whole, and then there's the ethical argument of like what's right to do in terms of stripping someone of certain human rights. I see those as two very
Yeah.
distinct arguments.
Really, because for me, or maybe I'm understanding it wrong, but for me, the utility is like the means of understanding the ethical argument. Because for me, it's like there's no utility to punishing people needlessly. And I think people who do it because on principle, they think an eye for an eye. If you do something wrong, you should be punished. I just think to me, that's not a principle I have. I just think that's wrong and bad.
Wonder
Does
if
that make sense?
like VR has some sort of play here. Like maybe you could have someone go through the lived experience of the victims of their crime. I could see this being a Black Mirror episode,
That's
copyright
crazy.
for me. But like, you rob someone and they're terrified or whatever, and like you have to
Yeah.
be on the other end of that stick for 3,000 simulated years, and then you get to go back to real life.
That is like a Black Mirror. Yeah, and again, the same. I would make the same argument. If it helped, if it genuinely helped, then maybe it's worth it. But yeah, for me, punishment for the sake of punishment, it's like, what's the point? Who benefits? I mean, I don't really understand.
A lot of these
If,
arguments
yeah.
are like so for such a temporary stage in our society, though, like this stuff I don't
Yeah.
think really will be important in another 100 years. I don't think we'll be incarcerating people.
Oh, I hope so. That's a really good thought. Yeah, I
I don't,
mean,
yeah. I don't think we'll
yeah.
be people at all, actually.
I was gonna say, is that what you mean?
I really think that. I don't think that's
Yeah.
crackpot theory. I truly
No, I
believe
don't.
that.
I'm not saying it's crackpot. I just think it's obviously very different from our current stage, so it just makes me laugh just immediately. But not because I think it's crackpot.
Just because you're
I want to be open.
uncomfortable.
No, no. It just makes me laugh to think it's just funny to take have a conversation and sometimes be talking about like very realistic things. But okay, I want to get a refill of beer. I am down to talk about the Dave Chappelle shit if you want.
Who's
Um,
that? Who's that? Yeah, sure, we can talk about it.
because I
Yeah.
went through the trouble of watching most of it, and I'd like to make that worthwhile by at least
The
talking about it.
trouble. I guess you
Yeah.
already have talked about it.
Okay, so we'll talk about it. Okay, I'll be right back in a minute.
I'm gonna go
Okay.
get some food. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. How long have we been streaming? An hour? Nice. Streaming League of Legends. That's cool. Very, very cool. That-
All right, so you're gonna tell me how much you liked it?
Yeah. And I'm interested to talk about whatever you were wanting to talk about too with this show. I spent like 20 minutes going back and watching clips of the Chappelle show that I haven't watched in years. But I didn't like it, man. I didn't think it was funny. I mean, I so what I wanted
I
to say
didn't
is
I
like
didn't finish it. Can I just say that first? I still have like
yeah,
20 minutes left.
I didn't finish it either. I still have about 20 minutes left too, honestly. And I personally won't, and I hope I don't have to have an opinion on it. You watch 40, 50 minutes of a special. You know what I mean? Like that should be enough. If I did a special, I would want someone to know whether they liked it in the first 45 minutes. So I didn't laugh. I didn't find him to be telling jokes. It didn't seem to be funny. Um, I yeah, I didn't think it was funny. Uh, the audience felt very fake to me. It didn't feel like they were reacting to genuinely funny things.
Is the
From big
audience what makes it funny for you? Like
No,
how
no,
the
no. I'm just saying because they found it hilarious. They
Oh,
were
okay.
laughing the whole time. I just mean I personally did not laugh from beginning to end, and he's got like this bone to pick with every single person, and he's like Ricky Gervais, where he's become. I like a lot of Ricky Gervais's old material, but they just become boomers, man. It's like this boomer fucking comedy. Like, oh, people are too sensitive nowadays. It's like, cool. Like his examples are really weird, and then he like, I don't know. I didn't find myself laughing personally. But
Do you think you went
yeah.
into it like open to the possibility of doing so?
Well, no, that's the thing, and that's it's hard to like. I'm not here like if it won me over, I would admit it, but obviously I was extremely primed to dislike it.
Mm.
Um, but I think I'm still, what can I say? Like I'm not just trying to perform being woke and like not liking the Chappelle special. I just genuinely didn't laugh, and I can explain why I didn't laugh. I'm not consciously listening to comedy, thinking about and breaking it down. But if I don't laugh, I can think about why wasn't that funny to me, and it's very easy to see. His comedy rests on assumptions that I find not funny. All comedy rests on assumptions. All communication rests on assumptions, and I find his assumptions bad. He went on for a while. The transgender people are the butt of his jokes to an extent that's like a bit much. It makes no sense. And then for him to just be getting off talking about someone looking like an opposite gender, mispronouncing LGBTQ 3 times to try to be funny. He mispronounced it 3 times to try to be funny. It's like, dude. And then Mike Pence being gay. That supposed to be funny? It's 2021. People have been making that joke for 5 years, dude. It's not funny. So it's like boomer comedy that's like, dude, are you okay? Like, Dave, are you okay? Like, because you seem like not well. Like, you seem like you're just like not okay with like the world. Like, it's weird. I didn't find it funny, dude. But okay, I will say stand up, I'm a fan of it, but it does have to win me over. Usually I go for the more deadpan, like Dimitri Martin or like Mike Birbiglia or like stuff like that. That's a little more chill. Bo Burnham, obviously, he's awesome, but um, I just don't find Dave funny, and I do think he's got to work through some bigoted shit. I mean, I don't think it can be avoided to say that. But anyways, you know, that's I swear I'm not just saying that because it's the right thing to say. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know, man. I don't know. He makes some okay, dude. That remember that space Jews joke?
It was so funny.
Dude, you don't realize that's anti-Semitic? He meant Zionists.
I think he meant how Israel and specifically the West Bank has been fought over for a long, long time. And there's this
Yeah,
cycle of this land is my land, this land is my land from
I
various
know.
different ethnic groups in the area.
I
I
know,
thought
but
that was funny.
dude, if you're saying Jew there, especially as a non-Jew, you're associating Jews with Zionism specifically, which I personally am completely against. I don't think Jews should be able to just take over all the land they want in that area. You know what I mean?
I think that space Zionists just doesn't have the same ring to it.
No, and that's what I thought too. It's completely unfunny. It's not funny at all. But that doesn't make it okay to say space Jews. But okay, you found it funny. I'm not going to argue. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't have found it funny. I just think it's really interesting how it strikes us really differently.
Boy, there's a lot of stuff to say there. I think
Dude, that's classic anti-Semitism, calling all Jews Zionists or like conflating the terms. That's not cool. It's like, it's actually not. Because that's one kind of anti-Semitism when you're just saying it's all Jews who want to retake land. I don't know, man. Like,
I wonder what you think of his old stuff then.
so I rewatched it and I was like, sorry, I feel like I'm doing all the talking about the Chappelle
You're
shit.
clearly very passionate about the subject of Dave Chappelle.
I want to hear your thoughts. No, because we were texting about it. I watched it. Rewatched the old stuff and I definitely laughed more. I think he was way funnier. I did still find myself just sort of like not laughing at a lot of stuff, like the race draft had funny parts, had not funny parts. The best one was Clayton Bigsby, the black white supremacist.
Easily the funniest sketch in comedy ever.
Holds up. Yeah, and I know since you and I were talking about like people saying the N-word, it's an interesting sketch because you have
exactly when I thought about you.
I knew it. Because rewatching that, I was like, I bet that's why. I had no problem with it, not even slightly offended by it, because it's obviously orchestrated by a black person or a group of black people. So it's just not a problem. It just doesn't matter. But look, it does matter, actually, ultimately. And the reason that Dave Chappelle stopped doing that show, and I think turned down millions of dollars,
50,
is that, right. So he did that because he was like, this is normalizing racism, right? To a certain extent. Like, it's normalizing stereotypes and racism. Or why did he do it? Is that why he did it?
I think it's a complex. I don't think it's so clear as he felt that he was normalizing racism. I think that he felt that the corporations he was trying to work with were trying to fuck him over and take a lot of his intellectual property.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I thought anyway. I also think he was dealing with a lot of mental health issues at the time, and felt he needed
There's probably all three.
Go back to his roots in Africa. I think he lived there for like 10 years, right? Something like that.
I don't know.
He moved there for a long time.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe it wasn't just that he thought he was normalizing racism, but I do think that was part of it, and I think that's fair if it was, because I just rewatched for 20 minutes and I went to like 6 sketches and they're all about race in an extremely explicit way. And I can very much see how he might have eventually felt like this is a little bit uncomfortable to be doing.
I think he had mentioned that people would maybe come up to him and make comments that were like, this person's not interpreting my art the way that I am meaning for them to, and there's quite a fine line between this person is clearly understanding that what I'm doing is parody and satire and like making some sort of statement against racism, whereas some people could watch it and be like, yeah, okay, it's a joke, but I sure do like hearing that N-word said, especially and I wonder what that split is, and I also wonder if certain people felt more emboldened by seeing it in the public, just like race issues joked about, that maybe he thought he was doing a disservice. This is all speculation though, so I really don't know.
I feel like white people do enjoy hearing the N-word in this like sick, twisted way. Like, why is that the case? Like, why do we like
I don't know. Black people seem to like it too, though.
Yeah, I guess it's just like a swear word or like something.
It's a lot. I mean, shit. Someone could write a dissertation on it. There's a lot to say about that word. It's a deep part of America's history.
it's obviously not offensive. Like I'm not offended, and I wasn't offended during his Netflix special. Like he's allowed to say what he wants to say. I'm not offended. I'm just not interested, and I'm not laughing. And for me, I think I have a pretty good sense of humor, but like it's got to context matters with comedy. It always does. With literally anything we find funny, the context matters.
Are
And like
stereotypes funny?
and that's the thing, like going back to the Chappelle show, a lot of the stereotypes didn't make me laugh that much nowadays. It felt, but I still felt like, okay, if I was 13, I'd still find this funny. It's still like really good comedy. And it's a lot more production than he's currently doing, obviously, just doing stand-up comedy. But no, I don't currently find stereotypes often funny. That's just me. I'm not, that's a personal thing. I don't think it's necessarily wrong. It's kind of like, what's the point? I mean, that's why no one's putting out stuff like the Chappelle show nowadays. But
What if it were
uh,
like a stereotype about like how corporations are going to treat their employees? I bet you'd laugh at that.
it's interesting. Yeah, because yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. The assumptions that underlie the comedy
Hmm.
matter.
For
And
sure.
like
For sure.
when, yeah, and when he's making all these jokes about trans people, there's this whole bit about, I mean, this is a little crass, but like he has a bit about him being more comfortable with
The peeing thing.
a a man with a vagina than a woman with a penis. It's like, cool, man. That's funny. Ha. Good
I
for
actually didn't
you.
understand what he was trying to say there. I thought the imagery of someone backing up to a urinal was funny, but I didn't actually understand what he was getting at or what
You're
point he was trying to make.
actually you're taking the words out of my mouth. It's so funny because literally my thought was like that was the one part I slightly laughed
Hmm.
at the imagery itself and that
Yeah.
alone. And then when you think about it, you think, wait, first of all, I think he's getting anatomy wrong. Is he talking about someone backing up to the urinal, or did I misremember that? Like, you don't have to do that if you have a vagina. You can pee out the front. Like, I'm
I
sorry,
don't
it takes
understand. What was he trying to say though? Like, what was the juxtaposition there? So it
the
was.
j- the joke was that he would be the joke was him standing at a urinal next to a man with a vagina and him being confused about how the person was urinating. That was the joke. And like it's not funny when I explain it like that, but my point is it's hard not to immediately perceive it that way when he's telling it. I'm not trying to break it down. I'm just like this is not funny. Like
I wonder how, like, you know how bathrooms and trans people, it's like peanut butter and jelly.
sure.
You can't not talk about the two things together. Why? How has that worked its way into our lexicon? Like, who decided that that was going to be one of the keystone issues when talking about transgender people?
That's a really good question. Because, yeah, I mean, it's like, it's just going to the bathroom. What's the big deal? Like,
It's not that
uh,
interesting to me,
yeah.
or not as interesting as some other aspects of society that would potentially be disrupted by a step change in the way that we categorize people. And it's
Yeah.
just strange to me that that one is focused on more than anything else, maybe?
It's, it's probably like it catches the eye in the
Top three?
media and stuff like that.
But
Because,
why? I don't really understand. I
like, why do like right winger people like make an issue out of people, trans
why the
people?
bathroom thing? So like, okay, for example, I'll be more specific.
Yeah.
Prison categorization seems like a much realer place to talk about. Like, if you want to talk about harm, don't talk about people like feeling weird. Talk about like
Yeah.
prison where people are locked in with one another and have roommates and stuff like that. But that's not talked about. Bathrooms are.
Hmm.
Why? Because
Well,
it's
by
more
prison,
relatable.
yeah, I mean, because people don't think about the prisons anyways.
That's true.
But,
No one gives a shit.
and And by prison, do you mean thinking about having empathy for the trans people or for the other people?
um,
Because, dude, it sounded like you meant the other people, but it's really the trans people that are getting fucking
I meant
screwed over.
women. Yeah, I meant women in prisons.
Or just trans people in general, because it goes, I mean, yeah, but anyway, yeah,
I specifically meant biological women in prisons.
in
That
in men's prisons.
no, No. The issues that would arise from in women's prisons. That's what I'm getting
Oh,
at.
if a biological male was in a woman's
That's what
prison,
I'm getting at. Yeah.
what harm do you think would be caused?
Uh, the same kind of harm that happens in regular prison, but to a larger degree.
Like sexual assault or
Yeah,
what?
absolutely.
So you think men are like more prone to sexual assault in prison or
No, I think that physical stature is a large component to sexual assault. I think
I
just like
don't know,
power in
man.
general. So whether it's some sort of power dynamic of a structure, like an organization, or if it's physical power or financial, I think that power dynamics play a part in sexual crimes.
Is this really a problem? Like trans women in prisons being aggressive? Is that really a problem?
Uh,
Like
it
I have a hard time.
is that a good argument against?
Is
Uh,
it a significant issue? Like I've never heard of that. I've heard of so many problems with prisons, and to me, when I think of trans issues in prisons, it's people being unable to express their desired gender in a prison and being forced to be constantly like I don't know, like I don't know, treated really fucking badly,
I
already
don't.
abused more than
What I'm
usual.
trying to get at is that the point I'm making. I'm not saying it's like an issue on par with like I don't know, some other hot topic. It's more important and impactful than the bathroom thing. That's what I'm trying to get at.
I would say they're both pretty unimportant, but yeah, the bathroom thing is bullshit, obviously. Yeah, it's completely hyped up because it's just this like Christian, like think about the kids. Dude, fucking trans people are not causing any goddamn problem in
It's
bathrooms.
the same argument as like, should we really have gay school teachers? Like, aren't they gonna molest our
Exactly.
boys? It's like it's the same
It's the
thing.
exact same. And most transphobia that I'm aware of, it follows the exact same playbook as homophobia and uh,
So I It's interesting that we don't agree on the bathroom thing. By the way, we have different viewpoints on it. I just think that it's way too focused on. Like, I don't think it's as big of an issue as people make it. You know? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we think differently about it. I just don't think it's that big of an issue that we should be like trying to legislate policy around it or
dude,
things like that.
sexual assault or any kind of assault is already illegal. Why do you have to legislate the bathroom access? Already, that's like heteronormative of you. That's driven entirely from a heteronormative perspective. Because really there's no reason to think that there should be any added threat. It could be people are gay, dude. People could fucking assault each other if they want to, sexually or non-sexually
What's
in the
the
bathroom.
Do you know the distribution of sexual orientation for men that have transitioned to women?
I have no idea.
I don't
No.
either. I was hoping you
Yeah.
would.
No, I would.
You don't have
uh,
that on your
I
notepad?
think I think people are mostly like 15% maybe like gay usually. I think maybe it's different based on the genders and based on transitioning by a little bit, but I don't know how different it is. I think, but it's obviously a spectrum. Everybody's like open to whatever. But dude, there's no added violence. There's no added threat. It's like it's just trying to assert this principle of like biological sex is the most important thing, which I think is stupid. I don't think that's worthwhile, but you
Biological
know,
sex is the most important thing in certain contexts, and
like yeah,
and expressed gender is the most important thing in other contexts. I think the context really does matter. It isn't fair to dismiss one or the other as being more important than the other.
I don't understand what the concern is
So like,
because
okay, can I give an example maybe to
yeah,
illustrate my point? So like in a therapy session, what matters most? Gender expression.
okay, no,
In a
but
medical
yeah,
diagnosis, sex.
but in a bathroom,
I'm trying to illustrate my point. Did that make
but
sense?
but yeah, yeah, but we're talking about a bathroom, so in a bathroom, my question is, what could possibly go wrong, dude? A
People are
trans woman,
vulnerable. It's
dude, a trans woman, what are you worried about? like a trans woman's gonna go into the bathroom, sit down in a toilet in a private stall. A trans man is gonna fucking go into the bathroom, sit down in a toilet in a private stall. Like, what is
Do
the
you genuinely
concern?
not understand the concern? Like, should I?
Yes, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not joking.
This
Yes.
is like steel manning that argument. I think that it's not an excellent one, but this is the best argument for it. Okay.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
like okay, so when someone's in a bathroom, it's typically a secluded private space with like a locking mechanism if you have stalls in it. And if there are biological men that are in a women's restroom, they're in close proximity and over time normalized as being such in an area where there are women vulnerable. And I think that the argument goes that if someone wanted to perpetrate a crime, not that all trans people want to, but if someone wanted to, it would be a lot easier for them to than if it were not normalized for them to be in that bathroom.
So you'd have to
This,
start.
don't shoot the messenger, please. This
No,
is
I'm
me
not.
steel
I'm
manning
not.
that argument.
I just think I should be able to convince you. I think you should see why it's not a good argument because in reality, like there is no added threat. Like there are many private situations we engage with people of differing strength levels. We don't need to legislate based on physical or biological ability in most or maybe any spaces. Like that's just not something you need to do.
Yeah, the
It's
bathroom one is really weak to me. Really, I think it's a weak argument.
okay. Well, you said you disagreed, so I was just explaining to you. My side is like essentially there's no problem at all, and no one's going to be. It's already a private space. So let me ask you this: if you found out that if we lived in a world where all trans people were gay, you automatically were gay when you were trans. Um, no, actually, let me say it the opposite way. If we lived in a world where you automatically were straight as a trans person, would that change your feeling about it? Would this change your feeling? Do you think that some sexual element is involved? Oh, sorry. Is there? I
Sorry
guess
about
I'm
that.
trying to. No, I'm
So
no.
the sexual orientation you're asking me, is that involved in the?
Well, I there's this jump that you're making from gender identity to like aggression or like danger to act on aggressive impulses in a private space. So like where is the jump going from that? Is does it have to do with sexual urges or is it something else? Why are we
What?
going from
Why are we
someone's
assuming
desire?
that trans people would commit sexual crimes? Is that what you're
Yeah,
getting at?
because it's already
Because
wrong to
all people commit sexual like there's a small percentage of all people that commit sexual crimes and trans people are people. Unless you don't
okay.
think so,
So
Derek.
so do you want to legislate like do you want to say like a college student can't go to office hours with a female professor if he's like a big strong man?
Hmm.
Because that's a private space.
Wait a minute. Should have.
Should a male college student not be able to like be in a room alone with like a woman or like should a because you're essentially your all your argument is that it's a private space. Like, why are we gonna
Yeah.
legislate biological sex? It's ridiculous. It is a small deal. You can't say it's a small deal and have like the sort of strong opinion on it. It's
I don't
not.
have a strong opinion on it.
No, but like
I think it's a small. Yeah.
it's the strong opinion because that's the one that's like the
If you're gonna ask me to come down on a side of it, bathrooms should be segregated as they are segregated by sex, not by gender. That's what you're. If you're asking me to come down on the side of it, that's my opinion.
I yeah, I
But I'm
just
not
don't
gonna
think it
die on
makes
that hill.
I just don't think it makes sense because yeah, whatever. But
I don't think it should
I
be segregated because I'm deathly afraid of sexual assaults happening.
yeah, but dude, this is what if you learned that this was a very, very small, if not almost infinitesimal, source of sexual assault or any
I
assault?
believe that it is. I think it
So,
is infinitesimally small. That's not motivating my opinion at
so
all.
wait. But if you acknowledge that that's very small, do you also
Absolutely.
acknowledge do you also acknowledge that the benefit is pretty significant? Is pretty fucking significant, dude. Trans people are not an infinitesimal size of the population, and for them to be able to go to the bathroom in their preferred gender is huge, if not necessary. I would argue it's absolutely necessary. But do you not acknowledge that there's at least like a significant benefit there?
Just to be clear, you're talking about the benefit of someone feeling more comfortable being being able to pee and shit around their identified gender.
Yeah.
Then that benefit is immediately contradicted by everyone that was already in that bathroom that now feels uncomfortable. So if we're going the feeling comfortable argument, it's at the very best for you a wash.
I think it's far, far more like reasonable to give a trans person the sort of, I guess, preference here and say it matters more how they feel. Because really, for other people to feel, dude, come on. What are they supposed to feel? Who fucking cares? It's nothing. No one suffers any inconvenience. It's something if they even realize the
I
person's
disagree.
trans. Oh, please, what do you suffer? It's
I'll
nothing.
tell you.
Okay.
If I'm in a public area and there's now biological women using my bathrooms, the line's going to take a lot longer. I don't want that.
That's
You look at the women's
funny.
line, you look at the men's line, the men's line's always shorter.
To get back to comedy, honestly, that would be a hilarious joke if you were like a clearly not transphobic comedian. And this is what I mean by context matters. If you're like clearly just a obvious someone who supports all people and honestly has the view that the gender should not be based on biological sex, if you have what in my view are the right opinions, you can make that joke and like it would be funny. That would potentially be funny. Like it's all about the context.
Did you think it was funny?
Yeah, I thought it was funny anyways, but it would be like, I'm just saying in like a comedy sense, like
Make sure you write
Dave
Dave Chappelle that. Let him know.
because the whole context of him, he's literally griping about interactions with fans or people who didn't know him the entire special. It's not interesting. It's not good comedy, and it's very weird. And I think he's gonna live to regret it.
Those
Like,
stories are made up, right?
I mean, they're probably exaggerated a lot. Yeah.
I think that comedians are just good at telling stories and making them sound like they're real experiences that happened. I don't think they happened.
I don't think I can't judge him based on whether or not they happened. I can
Yeah.
judge him based on choosing to include in his act, interacting with a lesbian woman, focusing on the fact that she looked like to him she didn't look like a woman, going on about that, focusing on other people's gender in one or two other stories, focusing on how they express their gender. That's strange, dude. That's like you or I sitting here talking about black culture. That's strange. What is he doing? Why? I mean, why is and the space Jews? You found it funny. You're Jewish. It's clearly not a bad joke. But like other things, it's like, dude, why? I mean, like, why can't you think of anything else better to talk about? Is like a fair question. Why are you choosing to punch this population to say you, dude? And he's not joking. You can tell he's not joking, right? Like, he has a problem with the LGBTQ community. He makes that clear in a way that can you agree he's not joking? Like
I don't think I should stick my neck out and offer opinions about this. I
okay,
think it's
but what
going
do
to be
you
a point
think
of contention.
what do you think about the extent like you can certainly say some comedians they're not constantly joking the entire time. They
It's
express
really hard to
genuine
tell, you know? It really is. I mean, shit,
George
I don't know.
Carlin,
Yeah, George
you
Carlin was
know
definitely not joking
you know how
about
he
anything.
felt. Yeah, you know how he felt.
I guess
Um
maybe a recurring theme would be some way to try to figure out if someone's not joking or like if they're really trying to impress a point upon people, they might bring something up over and over again.
He says I'm not joking several times.
So, what argument are you making to me?
I guess all I'm saying is I found it very interesting. He goes on and on about all these his problems with the LGBTQ community, and it's just a little strange. So yeah, I just wanted to give you my feedback. I found it not funny and like concerning. I'm like, I hope he's okay. He said it's his last Netflix special for a while. I hope he made a lot of money. He can relax and hopefully interact with some more reasonable people.
You know, he made an interesting argument, a racial one that like he feels kind of. He said jealous, but pissed off really is the emotion I got. That
Yeah.
he thinks that the LGBTQ community, excuse me, has made a lot of progress in the last like 50 years or so. And he's like, us black people, like, dude, we're still getting shot by cops. Like, what's up with that? And he made an argument that, like, what did he say? Like, a gay person that he was talking to in a bar, like a huge white dude. He was like, yeah, he was a minority until it came time to call the cops, and then he's a white dude again. He was like making an argument around like, yeah, there was a racial component to it for sure.
Yeah. But don't you see how that's just him not understanding intersectionality? The idea that people have multiple dimensions of privilege or lack of privilege, which is weird because he starts the Netflix special by saying, I'm rich and famous. So I got through the COVID pandemic. I've been getting through it pretty well. I'm sorry, you guys must be suffering. And very empathetically, like, I hope everybody
meant it.
I mean, to a certain
I
extent.
don't think he meant it.
I mean, like, look, I think I could say no, but why not? It's easy to say and mean. It's not, it's a very genuine thing. We've all been through a lot. But like, I just think look, if I want to give my diagnosis, I think it's his ego's a little bruised because he's been criticized and he's responding to it very defensively, and it's not good for his comedy career. And it's not good. I mean, look, he's going to be fine in his comedy career. I'm just saying, in his comedy quality, it's not good. Um, and it's not good in his moral standing, and he has to like realize that.
What do you think about the argument he made about DaBaby? You remember that guy?
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, I didn't follow the baby stuff, but like, okay, so what was his argument exactly? I guess.
DaBaby shot a dude when he was 19 in a Walmart and killed him.
And yeah,
No uproar. DaBaby said some very questionable things, at the very least, at a concert that were homophobic.
okay,
Huge blowback.
okay,
He was saying, like, just take a look at like how little people care about the death of a black man being gunned down
sure,
in a Walmart. And I think he even related it back to like the bathroom thing. He's like, you something about the bathrooms in a Walmart, but like some dude's getting shot and
right,
nobody
right.
cares. He was trying to make a
I
juxtaposition there about like social change being applied
right.
unequally. Yeah.
So first, I that's such a good question. And before I answer, I want to ask: so is he joking,
I
or
have
is
no way to know, dude.
so? But do you interpret that as a genuine argument? You call it an argument. Is it an argument? Is it like he's seriously making an argument? Because it sounds like he is, but it doesn't sound like he's
I
joking.
think the argument is that he feels like the black community has been slighted in terms of the social
Okay,
change meter. I
okay.
think that's a real
So
point he's trying to make.
okay. So I think, sure. I don't think it's funny. I think there probably could be people who could make that argument. I don't find it funny. But as far as like what he's actually saying, I mean, it's to me, it's immediately not funny because I just hear it and I'm thinking, okay, well, that first thing is part of DaBaby's like character for his fucking. He goes by DaBaby, like he does whatever the fuck he wants. People accepted that he was a fucking murderer. I didn't know that, but I don't fucking listen to DaBaby. it's not funny to me because I immediately hear it and it doesn't strike me as funny. But it's in the context of the whole thing and stuff.
Where's this
I don't even.
obligation to be funny from, though? Like, why does he have to be funny? Everything's through the
He's a
lens of humor. Yeah,
comedian.
but so's Bo Burnham. Half the shit he does is not funny. It's meant to be, like, impactful and artistic.
Okay, so on that level, he fails way worse than on the funny level. On that level, I just find him completely objectively wrong if we want to look at him on that level. Like, I don't. DaBaby, he's not. If he's not actually making a serious argument to say that, like, LGBTQ rights have in some way preceded, like, African Americans' rights or black rights in general, like, I think it's weird. Like, I don't want a comedian to be making a serious argument, not citing anything. That's just a bad argument. Like, if it's a real argument, it's a very bad argument. It's completely unsupported, no evidence, no, it's I don't know. But do you think it's true? I don't know. It doesn't sound true to me, so I don't need comedians to be saying true things necessarily. I just want it to be a little funny, maybe true sometimes. I don't know.
I just really want comedians to say offensive things about minorities that I'm thinking, so that I don't have to. I wonder if people watch it with that lens.
I mean, like, yeah, I talk about whether it's funny or not because I think that's the right way to see it, right? Like,
I don't know, dude, because the lens of funny, I mean, it's okay, so it's art. Whether you think it's bad art or good
oh
art,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
art,
yeah,
right? So
yeah,
art's a tricky one. Some people like it, some people don't. But if it makes you mad or upset, it's not because it didn't resonate with you.
yeah,
It's because you actively didn't like it. It like rubbed you the wrong way. Right? Like if
yeah.
you go to a museum and you see like a typewriter on the ground and they're like, this is art, and you're like, that's not art. Like, that's not art. I don't think it's going to make you quite the same emotionally as Dave Chappelle's special would. So it's like, it's not just that it's not funny, I think that it's rubbing you in some way.
I honestly wanted to talk about this. I feel like I didn't say it yet. I was not offended by the special
I
in
don't
any way.
believe you.
I'm serious. And I wanted to ask you, what does it mean to be
I
offended?
think you're offended on behalf of other people because you have a pretty deep sense of like right and wrong in you that's quite powerful, and I think that that feels violated in your opinion.
I just w- that's fair, but like, what does it actually mean to be offended? Like, what does it mean? I don't
I
feel like
think
I
what I just
feel
said.
that.
You're
To feel like something, but
some like an injustice occurred, I think, in some sense. Whether it's like a
okay,
small verbal one or if it's like something
yeah.
larger, like
But isn't it possible for me to think an injustice occurred without feeling a specific feeling about it?
yeah,
Like,
but I
to
think
me,
that I can view you being like emotionally invested in the results of this.
that's fair. I get that. But you have to take my word for it that I'm watching it like I'm just emotionless. I'm watching it like I'm not offended by anything he said. And I was primed for it with a week of social media, seeing what people said about it. But I didn't get all the details, and I learned a ton actually watching it. I just look, I don't find it funny, and I think it should be appraised in that way because if you appraise it based on argument, he's very bad. And his 846 about the George Floyd murder was very good. Very good. But he was like trying to make an argument. He was not. Did you watch that?
I don't know what
He
an
was
846 is.
his last net or no, a few Netflix specials ago, it was called
Oh,
846.
for the length of time.
Yeah, and he joked around I think towards the end of it, but the first half of it or so, if I remember correctly, was completely serious. It was not even trying to be funny and no one laughed. And it was good. And I liked what he had to say. Recently it's like he's a little bit not I don't think he's like just being offensive for the sake of being offensive. It's not funny, it's not interesting to
Seen
me.
this.
But I made a little YouTube video actually. I uploaded one of him saying he didn't know what punching down meant. In the Netflix special, he just says, "What the fuck does punching down mean?" So I just uploaded a 30-second video of him saying that to YouTube. Dude, can I tell you?
Over and
I
over
made a
again?
No, just 30 seconds. I made a video about My Little Pony, dude, and it's become my most viewed video in a week.
That makes sense. Dude, there's a huge, I guess you know that, but there's a huge following, an adult following of My Little Pony. It's very
Dude,
unnerving.
people are so nice in the comments. They're like, I've gotten 45 or like 5,000 views in like a week, dude. It's so sick.
How do I find it?
Oh, I'll send you a link. It's called, my channel is What's Therapy, but it's called The Strange Politics of My Little Pony: A New Generation.
4,400 views.
Dude, that's my most viewed video, and I've made 50 videos, and I released that a week ago, and it's not even good. Like, I just talk about something people care about, so they watch it.
Who's this mannequin girl that you seem to like?
What do you mean?
There's a girl that looks like her makeup was done by a mortician.
Madigan?
Lauren Southern.
Oh! I don't like her. I critiqued her in 2 videos. Yeah.
Oh.
You don't know her?
No.
But every time that I talk,
she's big on the internet. So
for the content.
Her, but I'm glad you don't know her. She sucks.
Have you posted the My Little Pony video on a subreddit?
No, I was a little scared to do.
You should I'll do it if you don't.
Oh, you can do it.
Okay.
That would be awesome. Yeah, man. I'm actually I'm just mentioning it because I'm so fucking happy about it. Usually I'm lucky to get like 5 views an hour. I've been getting 50 views an hour for like a week. It's ridiculous how many YouTube is suggesting it to so many people because it's just like a very chill 30-minute video about My Little Pony. I made it just for the views and it worked.
All right, I got it for you. Video. You're good, buddy. There you go. You're gonna get famous off of this. I don't even know what's in the video.
Yeah, what if it was terrible and your Reddit reputation is ruined?
I'll make a new one. That's what everyone else does. Can we move off the Dave Chappelle thing? I'm a bit tired of it. I've grown quite weary.
I'm so down, yeah.
What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I'm glad I got to tell you about My Little Pony shit. That's been hilarious. I've been really enjoying spending time working on videos. I've done a few other ones, but yeah, that was fun because I was like, I just want to do one about this movie. Would you
try DMT?
I have tried DMT. Actually, only very recently. I'd be happy to talk about that. Yeah.
Oh wow, how recently? Yeah, you've peaked my
back in July.
Go on.
I went to my friend's wedding and I was his best man. And like the night before or 2 nights before his wedding, me, him, and his brother went to his friend's house, and his friend had a very nice house in LA with like his partner, super just like modern feel. And we sat on the couch and did DMT from a DMT pen. Did you know they had those?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know they had those. So it's as easy as a weed pen. You don't even push a button. You inhale for 10 seconds or 15 seconds and you enter a completely different state. And it was very cool.
Yeah. Was it truly like out of body, would you say?
I didn't. I did it very sort of like.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's perfect. Thank you.
I did it in a responsible-ish way because I was just at that point where I wanted to be a certain way about it, but it was very soft and natural feeling, sort of like mushrooms. Like you sort of sink into like an interdimensional. Not really. I didn't have that deep of an experience, but you sink into like a different sort of experience where your sensations are totally different, and you're sort of. Like I sort of perceived like just a very rich, like soft color sort of visuals on my closed eyes, because when you close your eyes, it's even better. You have like visual, cool visuals. The guy I did it with, he's done it a lot. He'll tell you about all crazy you meet,
The elves and shit.
yeah, but like to me, I don't want to do that. And actually, recently I've done LSD, and I didn't have a great experience, to be honest. I want to be like it had positives, but it had negatives. I want to be responsible about this stuff. There's no point in just like making yourself uncomfortable needlessly. You know what I mean? Like, so the DMT was really cool because it actually felt, it was very short, 5 or 10 minutes, and it just felt like a sped up psychedelic experience where you just have the overall sense of like, oh wow, we're all fragile and
What'd you feel like when you came down?
totally normal.
That's so
Just
weird, man.
Yeah, just came back to totally normal. The guy who we did it with called it like, said it's sometimes called like the businessman's LSD because you literally it's
That's
10
funny.
15 minutes you're back to complete
Where did
normal.
he get it?
He just had people he bought it from. Yeah.
Okay. And you're not gonna throw a name out on the stream. Just
He
kidding.
he didn't tell me where he got it.
I'm just kidding. The
I've always wanted to try it, so I was
Me
really
too.
happy to try it. Yeah.
Oh, that's what I want to ask you. So the drug is also produced, I think, when you dream and when you die naturally.
That's what I've heard, yeah.
So was there any corollary to how you feel when you are falling asleep in bed and you start to feel yourself like accessing the dream world? You know what that feels like?
Okay. Yeah, I'd say that more than like the actual dream world, definitely. Because when you're dreaming, you sort of just feel like you're awake, but different, but it's like surreal. But you kind of feel like you're awake, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. This one
But
was
when you're,
closer to the transitional state.
I'd say, yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
DMT
'cause
interests me.
it was great, and I wouldn't want to get too into it because at the end of the day, it's like, what's the point? Like you have to think about whatever the point is. You don't want to just get fucked up for the sake of getting fucked up.
A lot of
But
people do.
yeah, but you want to, I don't know. I'm where I'm at in life. It's like, what's the point? I've done a bunch of drugs before. It's like, there's got to be some point to it if you're going to be doing it. I mean, you don't want to just get messed up. So yeah, I did a little bit, enough to be like, whoa, that was really cool. I should like close my eyes more and hang out and like, I don't know, I should just be good and kind and stuff. And that's just like, when you've tripped a few times, you just keep getting the same overall takeaway, sort of like, oh, I should just be like a good person.
Maybe you should do that to people in prison.
Yeah, I mean, in a safe way, man.
You walk in and they're just tripping balls for like 30 years and they come out.
I
They're all
think
Ted
psychedelic,
Kaczynski.
they should be very legal, definitely. I mean, I think there's no reason to
What
make
about
psychedelics.
heroin?
Yeah, I think it should be legal. I don't think it does any benefit to make it illegal. I mean,
I agree.
I don't know.
What
Yeah,
about
I don't.
age? Should 16-year-olds be able to buy it?
No, I think I don't know exactly what I would think the reasonable age is, but no, not 16. Maybe 21, 25. I don't know. You can't rent a car till you're 25. Shouldn't be able to.
You can in
75.
certain circumstances.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I don't know this stuff. I think all those kinds of questions should be answered by like, committees, I guess, of people.
Oh,
just
committees?
voting. I mean, I know that's like bureaucratic, but like people just need to vote on shit. I can't decide,
You know,
But
you can though. With the advent of the internet, direct democracy has become a lot more of a reality. Whereas when our founders started this country, one of their biggest reasons that they didn't do direct democracy and instead implemented representative democracy was simply just logistics. It's too inconvenient to get a whole bunch of people from all over the country, everyone, to come and vote. So they had delegates. But now, everyone could vote on everything through an app every day.
yeah, it's true.
Oh, did you see the vote this morning? Yeah, We're gonna legalize that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, me and my friend, like 5 years ago or more, thought about trying to make an app that would like make you just connect with your friends in a way that was based on like in a almost parody way, based on like Congress or like voting on a bill, like what should we do tonight or something like that. But you're voting on something. We talked about it for like a while, but we didn't end up doing anything, obviously. But yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. What are you supposed to do besides voting? Like, there's nothing better. I mean, you elect people to represent you, and is that better? I don't know. I mean, wait, I'll be right back. I have to go pee really quick. Sorry about that. One sec. Hey, man. Thanks for waiting. Sorry
Sure.
about that.
I'm probably gonna wrap up in a little bit.
I was gonna say we've been doing this a long time, man.
Can I read you something?
Yeah, please.
It's one of my favorite documents.
Nice.
Not the whole thing, it's too long.
Okay.
You tell me when you know what I'm reading you, okay?
Okay.
We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal.
Constitution, or yeah,
Not quite.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still want to read it. Just
Okay.
the first couple
Okay, you
lines.
just told me to tell you when I recognize it.
Okay. I'm proud of you. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights, except for black people, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Oh, actually, they didn't put that part in there. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles, and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. That's where I'm going to stop. But you asked, what else can we do? Get rid of it. Put in a new government. It's written in there.
I'm confused.
You asked me, what else can we do other than vote? You can get rid of the government and put a new one in. It's inherent to the foundation of the government.
Yeah, but I'm saying even, yeah, I'm just talking about democracy in general though, because even in this, well, what you're talking about, like there'd still be voting, right?
You said you want anarchy.
Yeah, but I think that's like when you have any organization, whether it's anarchy just means lack of unjust hierarchy. So you're basically having organizations that interact with each other on a non-hierarchical level, but you still have people Wait, what were we? Forgot the exact point. Why did you say anarchy again?
You were saying what else can we do? We were talking about
Oh
direct
yeah,
democracy.
yeah. When you have anarchy, even the organizations themselves are going to be democratically controlled. Because at the end of the day, there's no better solution than democratically making decisions. I mean, I don't. That's what I mean. Yes, you can democratically decide to tear down something and raise something up, and that's what protests are, and that's what other things are. You know, the will of people being like, I'm not happy with things. But yeah, uh, at the end of the day, I don't want to just choose some wise person to make all our decisions or something like that. You know what I mean?
Would you support a draft for the president?
I've thought about what if we just had a random. It was like a random person
That's
that
what I said.
became the president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would potentially. I mean, maybe that would be better. There are so many things we could do short of that. Obviously, like take some of the money effect out of politics in some way. I don't know, super limit campaign contributions or some shit. Publicly fund elections. I think that would do it. If you publicly funded them. I think that's something people do so that they're not looking for private funding. I don't. I mean, but yeah, yeah, you could choose someone randomly. I think it should be like more scientists and stuff like that, not so much lawyers and now like movie stars or TV stars or real estate agents.
I know that. I think you real estate agents.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong way to put it. Yeah.
I think we might have talked about this in the past, but I got excited in 2016 when Trump announced that he was doing a industry leaders council.
Oh yeah.
Assembled like 12 to 15 people or something like that were each like business people, so to speak, that were successful in their own area, and some scientists as well. I was like, great. It's going to be a cabinet of not politicians. It's going to be people that actually like know what they're doing in their respective disciplines. And then I think a couple of them left, and then it like disbanded because he was being a prick, I think.
Oh yeah.
But I got excited for a little while that it might be bucking the norm of politicians and bureaucrats.
But don't they already like coordinate in a similar way? Is that big of a thing? Like, don't they already coordinate pretty much like with industry? Man.
What do you mean, like industry leaders? What?
Yeah, I mean, is that such a revolutionary thing? Doesn't the government always kind of like coordinate with
Not
industry
quite
leaders?
that directly, I don't think.
Okay.
I don't think to the executive branch anyway. It's normally like a influence peddling in the legislative branch.
Yeah. But it didn't work out.
Nah. I think personal differences.
Yeah.
I don't know why. So what's something that you hope that you'll see in the next year? Let's end on that note.
Year. You mean like politically or in the world or in my own life?
Open to interpretation.
I hope that I'll see. That's a good question, man. Nothing immediately comes to mind. I hope that I'll see more friends and family. That's the best I can do. Yeah. How about you?
More friends and family than the past, or no?
Yeah, or I just hope I'll see people I care about and stuff. Yeah. As far as hope I see this or that change in the world, I don't know what to say about that.
I hope I see China destabilize.
That sounds horrible.
I was gonna go with something else, but
Yeah.
something a little bit more mundane. But yeah, I think it's that. I want the
sounds
evil
good.
regime of China to start a downward spiral.
Okay, well maybe we'll pick that up next time. See if it's happened yet. Cliffhanger for the podcast.
Spoiler alert, it probably won't.
Well, yeah.
Good talking to you, man.
Yeah, good talking to you too. I guess we can stop the stream and then end the call if you want to.